everybody, and welcome to the Football Philosophy channel. And it's Thursday lunchtime. United are playing this evening away in Rome. I did my team prediction yesterday, and literally about an hour after I'd done my team prediction, the news came out that Dan James hadn't travelled. I don't know what's happened there with Dan James. It seems a little bit unusual to me in that, okay, the game was postponed against Liverpool on Sunday, but he wasn't in the starting lineup and he wasn't on the bench. And the news was that he'd just been rested from the squad for that game. And then suddenly, lo and behold, they travelled to Rome on the following Wednesday, and now they've said that he's injured. So I don't know if he's got injured between Sunday and Thursday in training, or whether it. Well, look, is it true even? Was he injured on Sunday, or was he rested? Or is he injured now, or is he rested? So I don't really know what's going on in there. I wish I was a fly on the wall and I could actually find out exactly what's going on. But it seems strange to me. Rested on Sunday and injured on Wednesday. Seems a bit of a coincidence. But obviously he's not there. I did put him in my lineup. I spoke yesterday about Ole in his press conference was saying that the game's not over and done with, and that we do need to approach it in a sensible and professional manner. And because of that, I predicted that he will go with his normal defensive, not defensive mindset, but strong defence. I don't think he's going to change the defence. I think it's gone wrong a couple of times in the past. I do think he's going to go with Wan-Bissaka, Lindelof, Maguire and Shaw. I think he'll go with McTominay and Fred, or maybe he might put Matic in one of those positions. That might be one change that he makes. I do think Bruno will start. And then yesterday I predicted that it would be Dan James, Mason Greenwood and Paul Pogba. But now that Dan James isn't there, a lot of people think Ahmed might play. He might play, of course he might. But I think it's more likely that Juan Mata might get a game. I hope look, common sense tells you surely that Marcus Rashford will get a rest. First of all, he plays almost every game. Secondly, even the most ardent Marcus Rashford fan would say that he's not been playing particularly well recently. Even in the 6-2 victory, he was perhaps the only player that you might say didn't play particularly well. And obviously that was only last Thursday. And then on top of that, he's obviously having injury problem after injury problem. He's had a back problem, he's had a shoulder problem, he's had an ankle problem. Like I say, he plays in virtually every game. If anybody needs a rest, it's Marcus Rashford. So when I named me line-up with Dan James, Mason Greenwood and Paul Pogba as a front three, because make no mistake, with Paul Pogba playing wide on the left, he's in the team as one of the front three, even though obviously he does do his defensive work, he does track the full back and fill in midfield at times as well. So that would be the front three in that lineup as I said it. It would be Dan James, Mason Greenwood and Paul Pogba. I do think Cavani's going to get a rest. I was mentioning it at that time that I think Rashford will get rested. Surely he will get rested. Now that we know Dan James has not travelled, I'm praying that Marcus Rashford still doesn't play. There's no reason. What would Ole be thinking if he was to play Marcus Rashford in this game? A player who's played more minutes than almost anybody in the squad. There's probably about 3 players. Maguire, I heard on the TV the other night that Maguire's played more minutes than any player in all of the top leagues in Europe this season. And the second on that list is Wan-Bissaka. So I thought that was quite interesting. I don't know the facts here, but I bet there's only 2, 3, maybe perhaps Bruno. There's probably 4 players at the most that have played more minutes than Marcus Rashford in the United lineup, so he needs a rest. He's carrying knocks left, right and centre, and at the same time he's not playing great. All he seems to have him on such a pedestal that we can't manage without him, and I just don't get it. So I really hope that tonight, just because I'd suggested that James might play on the right, I hope it doesn't now mean that Marcus will definitely play on the right if Pogba's on the left. I wouldn't mind Diallo playing there at all. I'd like to see Ahmed get a run out, but I do think Ole might more likely go with Juan Mata, who's obviously more experienced. They just want to manage the game, as they call it these days, keep hold of the ball. They don't need to go and score a goal. Obviously, Ahmad's an exciting prospect, but we don't need to go and score a goal, do we? Obviously, if we can score a goal, brilliant. but they need to manage the game. They need to look after the ball well, starve the opposition of the ball as much as they can, and get to half-time without any scares. They don't want to be coming in at half-time, as I said yesterday. We don't want to be coming in at half-time 2-0 down or something. They just need to get to half-time either at 0-0 or preferably with even a 1-0 lead, and then, you know, take 2 or 3 players off at half-time and give them the second half to rest. So I think that's what he'll do. I think Juan Mata, well, I say I think Juan Mata might start. Wouldn't surprise me if Rashford starts. It wouldn't surprise me one little bit, but if he starts, because of the injury, it's not just one thing, it's threefold. The injuries, the knocks that he's been getting, his form's not particularly good anyway, and he also has played more minutes than most of the squad. So he just needs to be rested. There's no reason whatsoever for Marcus to play tonight, and I will be gutted if he's playing. But it wouldn't surprise me if he did play. It wouldn't surprise me one little bit. But if we get to half time, as I say, either at 0-0 or 1-0 up, you know, then we're 6-2 up with 45 minutes to go, or 7-2 up with 45 minutes to go. Surely that'd be the time to make 2 or 3 changes. So looking forward to that game. Champions League football last night. I watched the Chelsea Real Madrid game. Who'd have thought this when Lampard was sacked and Tuchel came in? Now Chelsea are now in the FA Cup final, and they're in the Champions League final. Real Madrid, not the Real Madrid of old, not, you know, they were wide open. I was actually watching that game last night. The number of chances Chelsea had, as good as they are, Chelsea, I'm not so sure that they're as good at opening teams up as Manchester City are, with the likes of Bruno and Mahrez, and the way Phil Foden's playing at such a young age. And I did think to myself, if this Real Madrid team turned out against City in the final, wouldn't have surprised me one little bit if City would have put 5 or 6 past them. Would not have surprised me one little bit. And with Chelsea missing the amount of chances that they missed, it was on a knife edge until fairly close to the end, only a few minutes to go when they made it 2-0. You know, Real Madrid did have the odd sniff. If they'd got, you know, they'd got an equaliser, it could have easily gone to extra time, which would have been thoroughly undeserved. But that's football. You hang on and you hang on, and at some stage a chance does come your way. But it didn't happen for Madrid. And it was a fair result. Chelsea should have had 4 or 5 goals overall, and ended up winning 2-0. Now that they're in the Champions League final and the job that is done, fascinating on Twitter today. That many things I'm seeing about the Chelsea team, people comparing them to United. I've seen one tweet that's had a lot of interaction saying a joint 11. The joint 11 that was suggested on Twitter, and people are discussing it. In the keeper position, it said either or. So let's just talk about the 10 outfield positions. In the 10 outfield positions, obviously it was a United supporter who put this up. He actually had 7 United players in the 10 outfield positions, and this is a team who were in the Champions League final, and we're in. I know we might be in. Well, we are in the final more or less. We're in the Europa League, and they're in the FA Cup. And under this manager, they've climbed the league. You know, they've got a great chance of finishing in the top 4 now. That was looking unlikely before he took over. I do get that this is a bit of fun, and people do say this, but if you're serious about your football, it's okay palming it off and saying, oh, it's only a bit of fun, but people are also still serious about it, and some people are putting these things up, and that's their serious attempt at what they think. And I take football seriously, by the way. That's a serious attempt at what they think a combined team would be. And then I saw a Chelsea fan put something up, and he said, make no mistake, not a single United player would get into our starting 11. Well, the United fan had put 7 United players in the outfield 10, and the Chelsea fan saying not a single one. I'm not saying not a single one would get in it, but I do fall more on the side of the Chelsea fan than I do on the side of the United fan. I really do. And when I say I take it seriously, I take my football really, really seriously. So when you're looking at these comments, I do get that it's people having a little bit of fun, and I think this player's better than that player, and I think that player's better than that player. That's fine, of course it is. But if you take it seriously like I do, you look at it more in depth than that, and you look at the way they play, and you think about the combinations and how the players link together. the way Werner and Pulisic played together in the first leg, and Pulisic even got dropped last night, if you want to call it dropped or rested, and Ziyech played, and you know, Werner and Ziyech, the way they play, you know, they drop in looking for the ball, they're workaholics, they're really quick. When they get the ball, they often intercept the ball or win the ball back or just receive a pass from a midfield player because they're close to him. And they've got this ability to just go past a man like he's not there, which opens up the field. Just coincidentally, this has just come to my mind, watching the first leg in Madrid, I commented on Twitter that the pundits on the TV, I can't remember who they all were now, I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was on, I think Rio Ferdinand was on, and they were saying, even in the first leg, that Chelsea had so many chances, they couldn't understand, I think they said they couldn't understand why Tammy Abraham wasn't playing, and Chelsea could get lots of goals if they had a player who could score, and I made a comment on Twitter saying that they don't know what they're talking about. I've got the utmost respect for those players. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was a fantastic player, absolutely fantastic. Make no mistake, Rio Ferdinand, as good a centre-back as I've seen. Absolutely as good a centre-back as I've seen. I don't care how many trophies they've won. I don't care how great they were at football. They don't know what they're talking about. If you change a player, it changes the dynamic, and I'm going to come back to when I look at it and fitting different players in. I know some of you already say, oh, it's only a bit of fun and I think he's better than him. I do get that. I take it more seriously than that. I don't just go, oh, he's better than him, so he fits in. And he's better than him, so he fits in. It doesn't work like that. Football doesn't work like that. It's combinations, it's different jobs that you have in the team, and it's how the team fits together. There's a chemistry in that team. So just by going, I'll take that player out. So if I go back to at half-time, Chelsea missed 3 or 4 chances, or at least a couple of really good chances. I remember Timo Werner missed one of them, if not 2, in the first half. And the commentators at half-time were saying that Tammy Abraham perhaps should be in the team. Two things about it. First of all, it's the chemistry, the way they play, the way they hunt for the ball, the way Werner hunts for the ball, the way Pulisic hunts for the ball, the way they can go past a man like he's not there, and it opens up space for him to develop the attacks and for him to get in behind. Tammy Abraham's not that type of player. If you're going to get an absolutely brilliant goal scorer, you know, it might upset the rhythm, it might upset the chemistry in the team, and the same type of chances and the same amount of chances might not come along. So it isn't just simply, oh, he's a goal scorer. You put a goal scorer in place of Timo Werner, suddenly the chances dry up, possibly. If you put a goal scorer in front of Pulisic, perhaps suddenly the chances dry up. Suddenly the team doesn't play as well. Suddenly they're not so exciting on the break, and they don't get in behind so often. It's about the chemistry in the team. So bringing me back to these combinations. So the pundits there are talking about a Chelsea player, by the way, getting into that Chelsea team. It might not work. It could perhaps be okay, but it might not work. Is the extra bit I wanted to say. They've still got through anyway. They've drawn 1-1 in the first leg. They've won 2-0 in the second leg. They're in the European Cup final. They're in the FA Cup final. They've risen from, I don't know where they were with Frank in charge. I think they were as low as 9th or something. They've risen to the top 4. They've got a right running, by the way. They've still got to play Arsenal. They've still got to play Leicester. And they've still got to play one of the other top sides as well. Arsenal, Leicester. It slips my mind for the moment, but they've got a tough run in Chelsea. City, of course. They've got City this weekend. They've still got to play Leicester, and they've still got to play Arsenal. 3 out of the 4 games, and the final game's away to Villa. Even that can be tricky. So not only have they got a tough run in, but they've also got a Champions League to concentrate on, and an FA Cup final to fit in between times. So I think it is a really tough running, and it wouldn't surprise me if they slipped out of the top 4. They might need to win that Champions League in order to stay in it. But even so, when Tuchel took over, I think they were as low as 9th. They now are in with a great shout of top 4. They're in the FA Cup final and they're in the Champions League final. And he's done that playing the style of football that he wants those players to play the style of player that he likes, like Werner, like Ziyech, like Pulisic, completely different styles of players. I know the pundits were on about Tammy Abraham. The pundits on the TV last night were saying, if they got another striker, where could they be? Look, they're through anyway. Do you get me point? They're through anyway. What do they want? And they're doing well in the league. They're in 2 cup finals. You can't win every game. If you look at City, for example, they don't win every game. You know, we've beaten them. They've not scored against us in the league this season. We've beaten 2-0 City, and we've drawn with them 0-0. They've not scored a goal against us. So even though they score lots of goals, they will get 3s, 4s and 5s here and there, but they are going to have the odd game where they either don't score or they only score 1. And a similar thing is going to happen with Chelsea. You know, they will start scoring more goals. They'll score 2s, 3s and 4s more often because the confidence is in the team and the style of play is creating so many chances. If you was to swap one of those players and say we need a player to start taking those chances, maybe the chances then dry up. That can happen so easily. So you're between a rock and a hard place. You are between a rock and a hard place. What do you want to do? Do you want to keep playing like this? Keep winning so many games? Maybe keep winning so many games only by 1 and 2. But then you might try and put a striker in who can score a few goals, and then the chances dry up. Maybe you stop winning these games. So at least they are winning the games. They're going great guns at the moment. They're going great guns. So the pundits have got it wrong. They've definitely got it wrong. And now back to the fans and the way they are picking teams on Twitter that include players from other teams. It just doesn't work. The lad today who put up a 7, look, I'll say it, I think this is the 3rd time I've said it. I know he could say it's only a bit of fun. I think he's a better player than him. I do get that. It's more serious than that to me. So I look at that team, and in his team, as his 2 central midfield players, for example, he had Kante and Pogba. Now then, Kante and Jorginho are playing regularly for Chelsea at the minute. I don't think if Thomas Tuchel was the manager, he would disturb that pair. I really don't. Why would he disturb that pair? Jorginho just keeps it ticking, ticking, ticking. All simple football. Giving the ball to these players who can beat a man and open space up. Giving the ball to Pulisic. Giving the ball to Timo Werner. Not trying any flamboyant passes. Not expected to get on the edge of the box and put people in. Obviously, he's got the skill to do that. But Jorginho's job, it's chemistry. It's how the team link together. It's his job to get hold of that ball and find 5 and 10 yard passes. Let these runners, like I've just said, the likes of Werner, the likes of Pulisic, they can beat a man like he's not there. That's his job, just to keep it ticking over. Why would he change that for a player who's going to start hitting longer balls or keeping hold of the ball a little bit longer at times as well? I don't think he would. If Pulisic was the manager of that team, I think he would still stick with Kante and Jorginho. Now then, let's flip it the other way. If Ole was the manager of that team, his favourite pairing in central midfield for United is McTominay and Fred. So Paul Pogba's not, you know, I know he's getting in the team, but he's playing wide on the left. Occasionally he gives somebody a rest and Paul might play. If we had, I put money on this. If we reach the Europa League final, it's obviously going to be a massive game. It might be against Arsenal. Desperately want to try and win this. McTominay and Fred will be our central pair. So if McTominay and Fred are our central pair, as we call it these days, Paul will be shoehorned into a position on the left, but he won't get his favourite position. In his favourite position, it will be McTominay and Fred. So if Tuchel was the manager, I think he'd stick with Jorginho and Kante. If Ole was the manager, I think he might well stick with McTominay and Fred. But if Paul's not getting in front of McTominay and Fred and he's got the option of Kante and Jorginho as well, he's going to be well down the pecking order if Ole was the manager. So that's just one position, one player, and he included 7 United players, this lad, in this team, 7 outfield players out of 10. So it's really interesting. It's more about the chemistry of the team when you're picking a side, and you can't just say, I'm going to put that player in, for example. Another one, for example, that was in it was Cavani. You know, certainly if Tuchel was in charge, Cavani would not be getting in that team in front of Timo Werner or Pulisic, or if it was Timo Werner and Ziyech. Not the same type of player. Not the same. He would not be getting in that team. Tammy Abrams not even getting on the bench at times. I'm not saying Tammy Abrams, Cavani, I'm really not. But Giroud, top class centre forward Giroud, goal scorer, you know, strong, holds the ball up well. He really is a top class centre forward Giroud. He's not getting in. He hardly gets a sniff. I think he came on for 2 minutes last night when they were 3-1 up. So they've got a chemistry, they've got a team that works together, and I'm more inclined to fall on the side of the Chelsea fan who said that no United players would get into their team. I'm not saying none would, I'm not really saying that, but I'm more inclined to favour him than the United fan who said 7 out of the 10 outfield players would be United players. A lot of you might say Luke Shaw. Obviously, Luke Shaw is absolutely fantastic. I love him. He's, you know, for me, he's our player of the season. But sheer coincidentally, Chelsea are particularly strong at left back. I've watched the last 2 games against Real Madrid. I said this in a tweet last week. As much as I would be pushing Luke Shaw to be the left back for England at the Euros this summer. Won't surprise me one little bit if it's Ben Chilwell. I haven't watched him as much as I've watched Luke Shaw, but I have watched these last 2 games closely, and he is absolutely superb. There's no denying it. He's absolutely superb. So, you know, it wouldn't surprise me if Southgate goes with Chilwell ahead of Shaw, like he did do in the last England international, by the way. So it's not that easy just saying this player is better than that player and I'm going to pick him. Of course, if it's a bit of fun, that's fine. If you think you're taking it seriously, then you're miles out. So, as I say tonight, I hope Marcus gets a rest. He deserves a rest. He's played enough minutes already this season. We've now got, not touched on that yet either, we've now got you know, in their wisdom, the Premier League. I did a show the other day where I spoke about West Brom being the fly in the ointment, and that news is now broken that it is West Brom that are the fly in the ointment. Apparently they were asked if they would move and they flatly refused to move their fixture against, if they'd have brought their fixture against Liverpool forward by 4 days into the midweek of next week. We were supposed to play Leicester on the Wednesday. Liverpool and West Brom didn't have a game midweek. They could have played on that Wednesday night, which would have left cup final weekend open for us to play Liverpool. But West Brom are playing Arsenal on Sunday. Then they don't play until the following weekend against Liverpool. And that big gap, they want that big gap just in case they're still in with a chance of saving themselves from relegation. If Arsenal beat them on Sunday, by the way, they will be relegated. As I said in my show, I don't know why the FA or the Premier League didn't just wait and demand of West Brom that we'll decide on Sunday night. Surely on Sunday night, if West Brom have lost to Arsenal, they are then relegated, automatically relegated. Surely then there'd have been no problem in bringing the game of the following weekend forward 4 days to the Wednesday night or even the Thursday night. Don't forget, by bringing it forward, they then wouldn't have a game that weekend. So they could play it Thursday. It doesn't have to be Wednesday. It could be Thursday. So that's that. It's they've decided Leicester United were playing Leicester on a Wednesday. That's now been brought forward to a Tuesday. So we're playing Aston Villa on a Sunday. We're playing Leicester on a Tuesday. As I say, it's been brought forward 24 hours. And then we are playing Liverpool on a Thursday night. So we've got 3 games, basically playing Sunday, Tuesday and Thursday, 3 games in 5 days. Whether the FA or the Premier League are thinking that is partly punishment, because they were talking about punishments for the game being postponed. How the club could have prevented that game being postponed, by the way, is beyond me. And who's to say the fans don't retaliate and there might be another protest either against Leicester on the Tuesday, because that's a home game as well, or against Liverpool on the Thursday. I'm sure the authorities will be prepared on this occasion. It'll be very interesting to see what unfolds this week. Very, very interesting. So I'm looking forward to the game tonight. It's, as I say, 6-2 up. Hopefully, we're at least 0-0, possibly even 1-0 up at half-time. And if Ole doesn't make 2 or 3 changes at that point, I'd be surprised. And the other main talking point, especially now that Dan James hasn't travelled, I'm praying that Marcus Rashford doesn't start. What's the point? I hope you've enjoyed that show. If you've enjoyed that show, Please tell all your friends. Please subscribe. If you didn't enjoy it, don't tell anybody. Keep stum.